Yes, Amanda Knox is the executive producer on the new Hulu series, The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox. Episodes 1 and 2 are now on. You can also watch Search for the Truth, the Amanda Knox story, which is a sit down with her personally. The really crazy and ironic part? Long story made short, Amanda Knox was a U.S. citizen who decided to go to Italy to study. She is roommate with 3 other women. She also fallen in love, has an Italian boyfriend. Her one roommate, Meredith Kercher, who was an exchange student, ends up deceased one night in a very horrible and horrific way. And I'm just going to put it like that for community standards on TikTok and on YouTube. From 2007 all the way to 2016, she still dominated the news cycle relentlessly. There was this made in 2011. This entire documentary was made on Netflix, and this was out in 2016. But now she has partnered with Hulu and reportedly getting paid very handsomely. And she's an executive director on The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox. Episodes 1 and 2 are available. But there is also this right now that you can watch on Hulu. This is Searching for the Truth, the Amanda Knox story. This is a sit-down interview with her talking about her case and everything that happened to her and everything thereafter. The really hilarious part is people act like this is new. What I just showed you is a whole series of photographs that you can easily look up yourself on Google, all the way from 2007, 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 2020, all the way up to 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, because she has been very active in partaking in documentaries and in interviews in the news cycle that is relentless about Foxy Knoxy. That was a nickname that she allegedly had that they then took in Italy and just rebranded when she was wrongfully accused of having taken part in unaliving her roommate. Now, we know that that is not true. She is an unfortunate victim, and we know that this kind of thing can happen to anybody at any time, anywhere. If you don't think that it can happen to you, then you need to be more attentive and you need to be more self-aware. You need to be more aware of what really goes on, not just in the United States, but in the world. You need to be more educated. Because this couldn't just be you. This could be one of your kids, your nieces, your nephews, your cousins. It could be your uncle, your dad, your grandfather. It could be your brother, your sister, your spouse. Anybody in your immediate or your extended family can fall victim to something like this. I mean, Netflix has done series after series after series about wrongful confessions and how people are very easily manipulated into wrongly confessing. It happens more than they elicit a truthful confession. And yes, almost 10 years ago, this entire documentary done by Netflix was great. It covered everything. It gave you all the information that you needed to know if you weren't following 9 years prior since 2007. And how could you not? You didn't have to be born in the late 90s or the early aughts for this to make it into your brain, because this case was everywhere. You could not avoid it. The same way you couldn't avoid John Benet Ramsey, Casey Anthony, the same way you couldn't avoid Princess Diana being on every tabloid and magazine cover everywhere, from any kind of media play, any kind of Best Buy, any kind of grocery store, liquor store, party store, or bodega. There are multiple adaptations of the Amanda Knox story. There are multiple documentaries. There are multiple interviews with her. She has been very vocal herself in advocating for certain things as far as criminal justice. But the thing is what happened to her didn't happen here in the United States. It happened in Italy. But Amanda Knox has also been a very big voice on social media for years, where she has been on Facebook, multiple podcasts, including her own Hard Knocks podcast, but most importantly, Instagram, where she has been documenting her journey since being back in the United States, getting married, having a child, her advocacy work, her red carpet events, her interviews. And just think, in 2 years from now, we'll mark the 20th anniversary of Meredith Kercher not being here. And this is all because Amanda Knox just has a shitty personality. She really does. She's not likable now. She just looks like she's egotistical. She looks like she thinks she's better than everybody. She looks like she has no sympathy, empathy, or compassion. She looks like she's a bitch. And that is what they ran with. That was the story. That was the selling point. And unfortunately, that doesn't mean guilt. Just because somebody doesn't react or respond the way that you think that they should doesn't automatically make them guilty. Of course, she does herself no favors. If that was me personally, doesn't matter if it was me at 17 or me at 25, me at 30, me at 39 now, if that was my roommate and that happened to my roommate, I would have the same reaction across any of the years that I've been alive. I would have been so heartbroken, so devastated. I would have been so scared. But not everybody reacts and responds like we do and how we think and expect them to, because of we know that's how we would react. But there is one exception, I believe, and that comes to when there is missing children, because a lot of times people that aren't reacting the right way, especially when it comes to certain parents that are likely guilty and trying to cover up their guilt by omitting the truth of what really happened, there's something in us that just innately can pick up on that. We see that, we understand that something's not right, especially when talking about your child in past tense. But this is a little bit different. This is somebody who is being told they're guilty of a crime that they did, in fact, not have any part in doing at all. Raffaele Sollecito is her former boyfriend who she had and who she was with while Meredith Kercher lost her life, her former roommate. He also has done interviews with Discovery Plus, along many other media outlets, because Amanda's acquittal is his acquittal, because they were actually both convicted of taking the life of Meredith Kercher, even though they had no part to play in any of it. But the one thing the news should have been picking up all these years, over 18 and a half of them, is that Meredith Kercher's actual perpetrator, the man who is responsible for taking her life, is Rudy Guede. He was sentenced to 16 years in prison in 2008. Not only was his DNA all over the scene, but he left a whole entire handprint right underneath her body. He also did this part. Of course, in 2021, he was released, but in 2023, didn't take him long at all. A woman has accused Rudy Guede of SA, mistreatment and stalking. He had been dating a woman after he was released, where he was working on work release from prison, and then after his official release. So now he's facing a whole nother trial. The crazy part is that he shouldn't even be out at all. He shouldn't be out at all ever to do this to another woman, because he had a history of doing this kind of thing. Then he takes the life of Meredith Kercher. Then he gets out and immediately just starts the same pattern of negative, bad behavior all over again. Kind of tells you that rehabilitation doesn't work for everybody. In fact, it only works for a very small percentage of people who truly want to reform, rehabilitate, change, turn a new leaf, and actually be a better version of themselves. But this story isn't making the news since 2007 as much as it should be. Why? Because it's obviously not as fun as hating her, just because of her unlikable personality. But you know what she's done? She's made some money off of that, and she's acting as executive producer. Also making money off of interviews. So, hey, Still her.